The Candid Frame is supported by donations by listeners just like you. Help us to bring you great conversations with great photographers. Support the show today with your monthly contribution through our Patreon effort at patreon.com/The Candid Frame, or click on the link in the show notes or the website at thecandidframe.com. Thank you.
This episode of The Candid Frame is brought to you by FreshBooks. Discover a super intuitive way to make creating and sending invoices for your business efficient and simple. Try it out for free for an entire month. Visit freshbooks.com/candid and enter The Candid Frame in the How Did You Hear About It section. FreshBooks, it's small business accounting software made just for you. This is Ibarian X, and this is The Candid Frame. One of the inevitable consequences of war and conflict are refugees. While the death and destruction of war can be isolated to a particular region or community, the lives of the displaced often find their way to countries and communities thousands of miles away from where bombs are exploding and bullets are flying. The stories of men, women, and children who are escaping such conflicts often portrays these people as some amorphous whole. Refugees just become masses of nameless people whose fates become intertwined with complex debates of economics, politics, and fear. One doesn't have to look any further than the Brexit vote in Great Britain, the recent general election in Germany, and our own presidential election to see the far-reaching implications of refugees. Swiss photographer Gabriel Hill wanted to do more than just go into a refugee camp to capture photographs of people at their most desperate. Instead, he sought to put a name and a story to the faces of refugees who have come to call Switzerland home. His simple, straightforward portraits, which include the subject with one personal item that they value, provides a perspective that is often missing from other work. It forces the viewer to reconsider not only who they are looking at, but also to consider what choices they themselves would make if they were forced to leave all that they have known behind. Well, first off, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get into your project, let's talk about your primary work, which is that as a commercial portrait photographer.
Yes.
Tell me how you sort of got into that and why it's such a passion for you.
Well, my very first contact with photography was when I was maybe 5 years old. My mother dragged me to some, it was like a kids, for a commercial, like kids model thing. And I was doing this for, 2 or 3 years. And I hated being photographer, but I loved being on set and seeing the photographers and the assistants. And so I was very inspired by that and found always it was so fun to be on the set. And from then on, I was always playing around with the camera. My mother, she had an Nikon film camera, but we didn't have film because I'm coming from a very poor house. So I was just taking the camera and like going through the world and seeing through the viewfinder, like exploring the world. And it was always fascinating for me. And so I was always doing photography more or less, but not like just was for fun and shooting some friends. And then maybe when I was, maybe 25 or 26, my girlfriend started a fashion blog and she was like, yeah, can you shoot me like in some fashion clothes? And then I started doing photography regularly and somehow it's just like everything came together. And then once I graduated from law school and the next day when I got my diploma, I opened up my photo studio and since then I'm doing this and having my niche here in Basel, Switzerland with my headshot photography. And we have 3 big global players here in Switzerland from the pharma industry. So I'm mainly shooting them and that's what pays my bills. And the other thing that I do is like my personal stuff and somehow I just got into it.
Well, you just said you graduated from law school. I mean, what were you originally intending to do?
Well, when I went to I think it's high school in the States, I wanted to study piano because since I was small, I played the piano. So I was preparing for the entry exam for the music school here in Switzerland. But for some reason, I thought like, yeah, I'm not going to be the next, I don't know, Horowitz or so. And I thought, okay, if you have to do this for a living, then it's getting hard, and I don't want to lose the passion for my piano music. So I thought, okay, what could I do to study something that gets me a job so I can work 50% the job I have to do and then pays the bills, and I can do 50% the things I like to do. So that's why I decided to go with law school, because in Switzerland, if you have a degree in law, you can do, I don't know, 170 jobs. It's a very, very, you can do almost anything with law.
Wow, well,
so that's why I went for law. But I hated it. It was like the worst time in my life to go to law school. And like when I got my diploma, I was like, yay, let's do photography. And my mother was like, oh boy, now why can't you just be a lawyer? Like, why photography? Like, no one pays you anything for that. So yeah, but I just love it. And since then I'm doing it.
What was so difficult about law school? What did you like
I didn't
least
like
about
it at all. I didn't like it at all. It was just like, I just did it so I have something that pays my bills. But it's like, like I had to go to high school because I didn't have the right diploma for the university. So I went to the evening classes, which was for 4 years. And then I studied 6 years. So 10 years of my life, I did something I hated.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was really, and it was a big relief when I got my degree from the law school and just opened up my studio, and everyone said like, yeah, since you're doing your photography and your studio, you're changed as a person. Like, you're happy, you're enjoying life. And yeah, I like what I do. Like in my job in the studio, I have to make people feel good, have to make people laugh, so we're having a good time and get good pictures. And if you work as a lawyer, you have to make people cry, and that's not my personality. So
did you take your mother a while to finally, feel comfortable with the idea that you weren't going to be practicing law and that you were going to be a photographer? Did that take a while?
Well, she still is not that 100% convinced. So when I started with my studio, she was like, yeah, you sure? Like, that's going to be very hard. And then after it went pretty well, she was like, yeah, but you have to remember, you have to pay your taxes. So she's always a little bit like scared that something's going to happen. And when I started my project with the refugees, she was like, yeah, but you're wasting a lot of money and a lot of time for a project that doesn't get you anything. And I was like, yeah, but I like what I do. I like this project. It's very important to me, this project. And yeah, now 2 years later, finally, it has some kind of little success, and people see it and talk about it. So that's really nice. And now she's happy. Like, yeah, wow, that's really great. But still, she's like, if you work as a photographer, you never know. Like, today I have 5 clients. Maybe next week I don't have any clients. So it's probably easy to work as a lawyer. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just not the kind of person for law. So.
Did you have the help of anyone else, like another photographer, or because I think it's when you're making that kind of leap, doing it alone is always difficult, and sometimes people do have to make it alone. But there are other times when you have the benefit of having the benefit of a mentor or someone who gives you advice or someone who's an example you can watch. What's your story with respect to that?
Well, I haven't had anyone here for helping me. Like, I never assisted to anyone. I barely know any photographers in Switzerland. The most people I know are from the States, so I don't even know what's happening here in Switzerland with photography. And yeah, for me it was like I started this whole thing, and then I got to know, like, today you have the internet and you can contact everyone around the world. A few months ago I was talking with Mark Seliger, then I had contact with Amy Leibovitz studio. So today everything is possible. If you work hard, if you really do something, and you have to be like persistent in everything you do. And so I like my girlfriend just posted out stuff on the internet, on Instagram, and then I did some headshot stuff because I really love Irving Penn and Richard Avedon. So I was just searching on the internet some stuff from Richard Avedon, and then somehow I came across Peter Hurley, because he's like, I don't know, somehow connected to Bruce Weber, and Bruce Weber was a student of Richard Avedon. So I somehow came across Peter Hurley, and my girlfriend posted a headshot of her on Instagram, and he liked the picture and wrote like something like, yeah, very nice, blah, blah, blah. And so I got in contact with Peter, and then from then on, I worked a bit like he was mentoring me, and he has this website like where he's like teaching people how to do headshots, and many of those people, they are just like commenting the whole day, like posting stuff and then writing stuff. And I was like, I just saw what he's doing and tried my best to, like, I worked really hard to get where I'm today. People concentrate on other people, like what is he saying about my work, or what is this guy saying about my work, and I just concentrated on what I do and just saw what is he doing and how can I, what's not good with my work, what's compared to his work, and he gave me some advice and said, yeah, you have to change this or pay attention to that. And see, he was a bit of a mentor to my, but that was, I don't know, a year ago or more than a year ago, and since then I'm just doing my stuff, and I always just work for myself. I have my headshot business, which is like the things I have on my website, and then I work with a photo agency in Switzerland. So that's the other stuff I have on my website. But I barely show any work to anyone because I don't really care who thinks what on my work. And I have a lot of things that I do that's nowhere. I don't want anyone to see that I do still life photography for friends. If they come to me like, yeah, I need a good picture for my house. So I love what Irving Penn did, like still photography wise. So I do a lot of that stuff, but I don't post very much of my work except like the headshot business, and that's where my niche is here in Switzerland. And people just saw it and like it and come to me, and yeah, but I'm not really mentored by anyone here. And
well, what brought you to my attention was your project ImPORTRAITS, in which you photograph immigrants who, surprisingly enough, you first encountered because they were living next to you. Can you tell us that story about how you discovered this subject matter and what drove you to want to photograph them?
Well, when I opened up my studio, I was like, okay, I'm not an artist. I take pictures. So I don't consider myself as an artist. I just said, okay, this is like nowadays, like everyone needs a picture. If you use it for LinkedIn or for intranet, or I don't know where, you need a picture. So I thought, okay, I'm going to make this. It's a product. My headshots are a product. It's not art. And I thought, yeah, that's okay with me. And then my studio is in the rear house, and in the front house are some refugees living. And I always, when I go to my studio, I have to go through this front house, and like then I skip to my house. And I shoot all day long, shoot people from like heads of HR, heads of like the big guys here in Basel. And it always was a little bit like felt weird because like they have so much, they have more than like the average person. And then when I walk them out, I have to go through this house with the refugees, and I see them, they have barely nothing. And so this contrast was always interesting to me, but also a little bit weird. And I thought about, okay, I'm really, like, this was 2 years ago, and people started, like, donating clothes to refugees and donating money, and I thought, what could I do, like, to help them in some way? What could I do? And for me, as a photographer, like, the first thing that came to my mind is a photo, because a photo says a lot more than, is, I think, sometimes more powerful than words. And so I thought about this, what could I do? What could I do? Like, there are millions of images of refugees out there, so no one waited for my work. And then I thought, what could I do that's different? And so a friend of mine, she went to school with me. She's a refugee. She's fled from Bosnia in 1992. And I talked to her and said, yeah, I want to do something. And she said, yeah, that's really great, because like you just hear refugees, but no one knows them. No one has any friends, or barely people have friends, refugee friends. So you just hear this like refugee, but you don't know who they are, where they come from. And I thought, yeah, I want to do something, but it's more of a concept. So my project has many different layers. Like the photo should show the people here. Who are those people coming here? Where are they from? Not why are they here, but who are they? And then it also, in order to make a connection with someone, you have to know a little bit about him. And I thought, if I shoot them with the most important item, for one split second, you're in the very same situation as this person was when he was or she was fleeing. So you think about what do I take with me? What is really important to me? What matters? And if you have a common thread, then it's more easy to feel with someone. So I thought, yeah, that maybe helps to understand or to get sympathy for the refugees. But I also wanted to give something back to them. So I thought, if I do a book, and all the money I get from the project donate back to the refugees, it also helps them in like from this viewpoint of they're really getting something out of it, not just like exposure or a voice or a face, but also getting something back. And yeah, that's how the project started and went off from there. But I didn't have any help from anyone. It was really difficult. I contacted all the organizations, and like no one even replied to my emails. Like they thought, like, yeah, photographer, like there are so many photos of refugees out there. Who needs another photographer doing something for them? And at the end, I found a non-governmental organization who said, yeah, okay, we can just give you the permission to be at our premises, and you have to talk to them. You have to convince them. And from there on, everything started. But it was really difficult. It took me 12 months to shoot 10 people. So it was really, really hard. And it still is hard, but now with all the publicity about it, it's easier. But in the beginning, it was really hard.
Tell me about your first subject.
The first subject was my friend, which went to school with me. Because I asked her, could you imagine to sit for me and tell me your story? Because otherwise I don't have to show anything to anyone. Like if I go somewhere and tell them like I want to do a project and they don't see what I want to do, it's even more hard. And she said, okay, that's fine with me. So she was my first subject. And then with her photo, I went to the local refugee camps and showed it to the people. But as I said, it took 12 months to get 10 people. And it's different if you go to a refugee camp in, I don't know, maybe Greece or so, and just take pictures of them. And they maybe just stand there, but they don't have to talk. They don't have to tell their story. They don't have to tell their names. It's different. But because they're here, like far away from home, and like they have different problems than me shooting them. So mostly they said like, yeah, I like it, but I don't want to. Or yeah, I'm coming to your studio, but they never showed up. Or yeah, I'm scared because it could maybe have a bad influence on my asylum thing here in Switzerland. So that was really difficult. And it had to do a lot with trust, because you have to trust someone to sit in front of the camera, and you know you're going to end up in a book or on a website. You have to trust this person that this person is not misusing it in any way.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of consequences for these people, not only where they are now, but also back home in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
But tell me about the second person, the person that after 12 months you finally succeeded in having sit for you.
The second person was a guy from Afghanistan. He's here for, I think, 4 years, and he was very open-minded, but he was, in the beginning, was a little bit, I don't know if I want to do it, because if it's not like you have to tell your story, and when you're telling your story, what you went through, like in your mind, you're going through this thing all again, so some people just don't want to think about it, and he was like, it's a great project. It's hard for me. I have this necklace from my father, who was killed, and my mother gave it to me. So that's the only thing that I have. And he was like, okay, let's do it. I don't really like to do this, but I think it's important so people see our faces, and so we have a voice, because otherwise we're just the refugees, but no one knows who we are. And he was my second subject, and yeah.
Well, what did you start learning early on that you had to learn to put into practice? Because, it wasn't just about how you lit them or how you posed them. It was so much about how you interacted with them, and especially since their stories were so sensitive and evoked such raw feelings oftentimes. What did you learn that you had to do differently than what you typically have to do with your headshot or your corporate clients?
Well, the first thing is I wanted to show them with pride, because if you hear the word refugee, people think like, yeah, it has to be a person with dirty clothes and in a camp and who has to look poor or dirty. And I want to show them with pride, and I want to show them with a very simple setup. So I thought if I shoot them sitting on a table, you get because in the exhibition the pictures were life size. So you got like when you're standing in front of an image, you have the feeling like you're sitting in front of a table with them. And I didn't change the setup. I had this setup and I used it every time the same way, because I wanted to underline their repetitiveness from their destiny. So it's like it's just the face is changing and the name is changing, but their stories are all very similar. And since I absolutely love the oliphant backdrops from Sarah Oliphant from New York, it was clear to me that I'm going to use oliphant backdrops because they have a very subtle texture and not that much of a personality. Lighting-wise, I like Rembrandt. I'm inspired very much from Rembrandt and Caravaggio, so that was the next thing for me to do. And I was just sitting in front of them at the table with my camera and talking to them, and they told me their story, and from time to time I would take a picture. And many people who come to my exhibition said, like, yeah, I know him, but he looks so different. I don't know this guy from this side. And that's because I shot them in a moment where they were very, like, pure. Like, it was a pure moment. Like, it was not acting. It was just, the moment was like, with Richard Avedon, he was like, talking with someone for 4 hours and then take the first picture. So you have to talk with someone. Like, it's all about the talking. That's what changed in the photography, I think, because many say you didn't study it or you didn't went to the photo school. But I think that's not important today anymore. Everyone can use a camera, and it's all about about your connection with the person. So it's all about talking. Also with my headshot business, it's like I have to make people feel comfortable, and then I make good pictures. And yeah, it was the same with my project. I was just talking with them, and from time to time I would take a picture.
In terms of just being able to get a good photograph, is it easier when you were dealing with the immigrants, or is it easier when you're dealing with the sort of corporate clients? Because you're dialoguing with both, but I was kind of curious which you found.
I think both is very difficult, because for my corporate clients, they are mostly head of some department, so they are used to tell people what to do, and when they come to my studio, I tell them what to do. So mostly it's very hard I have to fight their egos, and because they are not used to getting told what to do, and especially with women. Like if a woman comes to my studio and she's in a very high position, they even worked harder than men, so they are even more tough to handle. And with the refugees, it's like their stories are very touching, very emotive, and you don't want to pressure them. I don't want to ask why were you coming here? Did anyone die? What happened while you were fleeing? So you have to be very careful what you are asking, and I think both are difficult, but just on a different level. One, it has to do a lot with respect, and the other thing has a lot to do with not pushing it too far with someone. Because if I'm arguing with a client, like, and he's a corporate client, and he maybe is angry because he thinks like, I'm very important, you are not. But with refugees, it's different. They telling me the worst stories of their life, and they're somehow naked and exposed in their most horrible moments. So that's the big difference between the corporate work and the personal project.
One of the big challenges of running a small business is learning to handle your finances. If you're a photographer or any kind of artist, it's much easier to create the work than it is ensuring that you're properly compensated for all the time and effort that you've put in. And if you lack even the most basic of accounting skills, it can be downright intimidating to manage your business's finances. FreshBooks provides a simple-to-use accounting software that is tailor-made for small businesses like yours. Sending estimates and invoices couldn't be made any easier and can happen as quickly as 30 seconds. But most importantly, it's a complete system that provides the means for your clients to pay you online, so you get your money that much sooner. Discover how FreshBooks can help you to handle cash flow, expense management, time tracking, and so much more by taking advantage of their month-long free trial. No credit card is needed. Visit freshbooks.com/candid and enter the Candid Frame in the How Did You Hear About section. FreshBooks, it's small business accounting software made just for you. Yeah, what's really interesting about your project is not just the portraits themselves, but that they are sitting with a single object that meant a lot to them. And in some cases, it's very surprising what some of those things were. Like one person, it was just a strip of paper with a phone number. Another one was a cell phone. Another one was a waterlogged Bible. Did you have any idea of what they were bringing to the photo session before you photographed them?
No. No, I think when I started this project, I had a very romantic idea of what they were bringing. But if you're in their situation, some people just took something that's very like, a phone is very useful to you, because if you're sitting in Libya and, I don't know, you're in a prison in Libya and they tell you you have to pay $1,000 in order to get released, then you need a phone to call someone. Other people took something that's more like from a sentimental point of view. Like it was very interesting. I don't know if you've seen it. Ashton Kutcher posted my project on his Facebook site, and one guy is sitting there with his. He has 3 pictures of himself, and someone was commenting like, "Wow, he has 3 photos of himself. Like, what's that kind of a person? Like, if your most precious item is a photo of yourself." And I thought, like, yeah, those were 3 photos when he was a child. And childhood was like, for everyone, childhood is mostly something that's very like, you have good feelings about your childhood, and everything was still okay. You didn't have to work. It wasn't that hard as if you're like an adult. So for me, it was never a problem like that someone takes a photo from himself. But it's like, it all depends on if you had to flee from one second to the next, or if you could prepare yourself. I think that made a difference what people were taking with them.
Was there one item that one of your subjects brought to you that completely surprised you, that you really could not have anticipated?
No, I don't think so, because, well, the girl with the bunny, that was a bit surprising, but then again, it was a memory from her childhood, and it was that important to her because in her childhood everything was okay. So yeah, if you see the picture, I think, yeah, wait, she has a bunny, like that's weird. But yeah, if that was important to you because you were small and it was your most favorite object when you was a kid, then yeah, that's okay. But it was surprising to me. But yeah.
When you were photographing it, you've mentioned that it could be very emotional for people. And you have to sort of be very careful because you don't want to be exploitive. As you said, you're trying to show these people with a certain level of dignity and respect, but you're still there as a photographer because you want to create a photograph. How did you handle those moments where you could feel like the tension increasing in the room because they were revisiting or re-experiencing what they had gone through when they journeyed from their home to wherever they ended up being?
I paid attention to their body because you see the tension in the body. And there's this picture from which is my favorite portrait of them all, from the guy called Shireen. He's from Afghanistan. He has his cell phone. And you can see it with his body. He's like, somehow, he doesn't feel comfortable. He's kind of like, he's not sitting here with pride. He's like more of a little bit, I don't know how you describe it, but he feels uncomfortable. And that was what I was paying attention to. How does the body react? Because that's something that you cannot control, how your body reacts, but you feel like, okay, this person is uncomfortable. And then I would stop like asking stuff. But I was very, very subtle with my questions. I never asked like, why did you have to flee? And so I just let them talk. And from time to time would ask like, why or how? But I was always like waiting for them to tell me. And sometimes people would come twice, like they just come to my studio and ask me about the project and tell me a little bit and said, yeah, I have to think about it. And I come back. And so sometimes, I was sitting there 4 hours or 5 hours with people, because for me, it was never just about the photo. I wasn't just like using this, like now is the big hype, the refugees, and wanted to just misuse their position. For me as a photographer, I just wanted for them that they feel comfortable. That's my job as a photographer, to make people feel comfortable. And if you need to come twice to my studio, that's absolutely fine. But I didn't want to push them. And yeah, for some people, I think always it depends how long is it ago that you fled. Like if you look at the picture from the guy from Tibet, who was fleeing from Tibet 59 years ago, you can see it like in his face. Like he's very down to earth, like very easy, very comfortable. He barely has any connection to his fled back then 60 years ago. And for some other person who just came here, you see it in the face, like the tension, the anger, that they are scared, the fear. Yeah, that was also a thing that was very interesting to see in the pictures, how they differently, you see it in their faces, like some of them have had very horrible times, and some of them it was hard, but it wasn't that hard. They didn't barely die, they just had to flee, and it was horrible. But one guy, he was for 3 days, he was in a car, like in a big truck, and they locked him up in the truck and said, yeah, we are going to release you, and they didn't release him for 3 days, and he barely lived. So
yeah,
it all depends on your story.
And that must have been fascinating to hear, because you hear these stories in the news, but when you're face to face with someone who tells you that, half the people that they may have traveled with in a boat drowned or didn't survive,
yeah,
that must be really humbling, not only as a photographer, but as a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't know if you know the image from this 3-year-old guy laying on the beach.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So it's called Ireland. So this wasn't the first boy who died, who drowned. It's not going to be the last one, but the world was shocked. So that everyone was like in shock. And that's because like you knew his name, you knew how old he was, where he's coming from. So people could put things together. Like if it would just be one person without a name, like you wouldn't be that shocked. And that was also one part of my project. I wanted to show them, so people see, who is this person, what's his name, how old is he, when did he flee. So that was important for me for people to understand it, because the problem here in Switzerland is like Swiss people are always very, very easy to donate money. If I don't know, some catastrophe happens anywhere in the world, like they're donating money like crazy. But with the refugees, it's different, because people here think like war is man-made, and they are like, it's their own fault, like they're Muslims, it's their own fault. So they cannot make any connection. And if you're in Switzerland, like a catastrophe can happen here in Switzerland too. So you can you could imagine yourself happening this too. But with war, like no one has ever to flee from Switzerland. Like no way in Switzerland it's going to be war anytime. So
did people who were close to you question why you were doing this? Family or friends saying, why are you bothering to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like some people ask me, like, if I'm not scared that people might think I'm like, I don't know, pro-refugee activist, and I found it like funny because, yeah, I feel with them. I think it's horrible what's happening, and especially I'm from Switzerland. Like it's the richest country in the world. Like we don't have any real problems here in Switzerland. And then like, why are people scared here from the refugees? That's just silly. But some people said it's great, some people said it's bad, but that's also what's happened when it went viral. Like some people liked it, some people hated it. That's just like the subject is very difficult. I tried to leave out all the politics. Like that's why I never wrote, why is someone here? Did he went to Italy or Greece? Because then people again would say, why didn't he stay in Italy? Why did he have to come to Switzerland? So I wanted to leave this all out. But still, some people don't like it. Some people like it. But that's just a thing. Like you see them. Take Ashton Kutcher's Facebook site. He has 70.5 million fans on his Facebook site. If he posts something from, I don't know what, something silly, like he gets 10,000 of likes, my post got something around 1,000 likes. So it's a very difficult subject. And yeah.
There's one portrait where you don't actually have the person, and it's the photograph of the Bible.
Yeah.
Tell us about the story of that one, because that, as wonderful as all your portraits were, that one really kind of struck me, especially the story behind it.
Some people I found in camps, some people I found over people that are doing something with refugees. And this guy was on a Facebook site where they were collecting clothes for refugees. And I was on this site because I also tried to do something with them as well. And he wrote on the Facebook page like, hey, I'm a refugee. I'm here for 3 months now. If I can help in any way, let me know. And then I wrote to him and said, hey, look, I have this project. would you be interested in it? And he said, yeah, absolutely. That's like, I have a Bible. I would be absolutely thrilled to be with you. And then we said, okay, let's meet up next week. And then we made an appointment, and he didn't show up. And then I wrote him, and he was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. Like, my brother said I cannot do this. And I was like, why? And she's like, yeah, I just cannot do this. I'm sorry. And he never wrote back. And then another person from this Facebook group where they were collecting stuff wrote to me like, hey, did you meet this guy? And I was like, no, he's not writing back. And she said, yeah, let me talk to him. And then she talked to him, and he called me again and said, look, I can participate in your project, but I don't want to have my face shown. So if you could hide my face, color it somehow, do whatever you want, but I don't want to show my face because I can't. I said, okay, that's absolutely fine with me. So he would come to my studio, and then I was just playing around with trying to hide his face in shadow, and for some reason it didn't turn out as, it was like fake. Didn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, like, it would be even greater if he's not at the picture. Like, it makes the, like, from a photographer's viewpoint, it makes the picture more powerful. If you go to my exhibition, I see like, okay, this guy. Wait, why is there no one on this picture? Like, what happened? Did he die? What's the matter with this picture? So that was the most commented picture on my portrait in my exhibition. So he came to my studio, and then he told me like, yeah, I'm actually from Palestine, but I fled from Palestine to Lebanon, and I converted to Christianity. But now I'm living in a refugee camp here in Switzerland, and it's mostly Muslims there, and I cannot tell them that I'm converted, and I have to practice like the Ramadan and stuff and act like I'm still a Muslim, but I'm not, and it's very difficult for me because I escaped from there because my life was threatened, and now I'm here, and still I cannot live as a free person. I still have to hide and to cover up something. And yeah, that was the story with this.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. Tell me about how you started putting the work out there, because it went viral, but how did that all start?
From time to time, I tried to contact Swiss news websites about the project, and I never got any reply from anyone. So somewhere tonight, like, it's going to be the first article in Switzerland about this project on a news site, and that's just because of the post on Huffington Post. So from time to time, I would contact the media, and it's like with everything I do, you just have to try hard and work hard and try it again and try it again and try it again. And then maybe 3 weeks ago, I was on the vice.com website, and I saw like, yeah, they have some in Swiss Vice Switzerland, they have some articles about refugees. And then I wrote them, like the photo editor, hey, look, this is my project, what do you think? And he was like, yeah, great project, but I'm from Germany, I pitch it to the guys in Switzerland. And then they contacted me and said, yeah, that's a great idea, and how much money are you asking? I said, I'm not asking for anything, I'm happy if you publish it. Like, I don't look for money. And they were like, yeah, that's great. So they wrote this article, a very short one, and it was meant just to be on the Swiss Vice website. And then they translated it and sent it to UK. And from UK it went to, I don't know, Canada, and then Germany. And then, like, I think it's on every Vice website around the planet except from Russia, Japan, and China on the other website. And from there on, it just went viral. It was there and there and there. So every time when I would wake up, I just got another email, a press request from, I don't know, in Poland or France. So from time to time, just go on Google and look up for the project and discover it on the website, I don't know where in the world. So that's really surprising, and also a little bit scary because I lost control out of it. So today I just got an email, hey, we did this video about your project on the Indian website, and they did a video and edited with some pictures from refugee camps and some film from refugee camps and very dramatic music, and they put it like, it's like a, I don't know, a very dramatic movie, and they couldn't control it. So that's just out there. I was like, oh boy, what did I do? But once it's out there, it's out there. So that's the thing with when something goes viral. And I think why it went viral is because people are like tired to see those pictures of refugees standing at the beach or standing in a camp. And what's different is like, it's not dramatized. It's a portrait. It's a person. It could be you. It could be me. And I think that's what makes the project different from other photos of refugees.
Once it went viral, did you hear from some of your portrait subjects that started seeing their photographs and their stories being published in, on different websites and things like that?
Yeah, not from all of them, because I'm not, with some of them I'm still in contact, with some of them I'm not. But just today was Sheila, the very first subject, was at my place here, and she was like, "Hey, we're world famous, like we're everywhere. That's so weird." Like, and it is weird. But she didn't like her photo, but she liked what it does to the whole refugee thing. So yeah, some people like this because like they are not very beautiful portraits. If you're sitting there, like my most like the picture that everyone says that's my very best picture is the portrait of my father. My father hates it absolutely, and I think it's the best picture I've ever taken. I put it even in a magazine, and it was printed 100,000 times in magazines in Europe and in Austria, in Germany. But yeah, some people just those are not like most of the people want to look good, and in portraits it's not about looking good. It's about authenticity and about looking natural, and they said great project, but I don't like my photo. But some of them were really proud. They brought all their friends to the exhibition. They were really proud to see them hanging up on the wall, so that was really great. But they didn't, I think they don't, most of them don't know where the project went now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that this project, that it's so much, your lighting and your whole setup is not showy. It's not like you're trying to boast, oh, look at all the stuff that I can do with about, 7 lights and with my retouching. And, it's nice. It's very good work, but it's more about the concept and the idea behind it rather than you trying to show off your photographic skills.
Yeah. So that's, I think the project is not art. It's not portraiture. It's not documentary work. It's something like in between all these things. And that was also very interesting when I I want to do a photo book, which is very expensive. And I said, okay, I'm going to pay 2/3 of it. I'm going to pay, but I try to get some money, some funding from the government here. And so there's this, the only way to get money is like, there's a prize for artists, and you can submit your work, and then if you win, you get a prize as an artist. And they say, hey, this is not art what you do. And like 2 days later, I get a letter from the Swiss Photo Award, and they said that's one of the best works in Swiss photography in Switzerland this year. So you see, like, where like some people say that's art, some people say that's crap. So I'm sorry, I don't use this word, but yeah, I don't know what it is, and it was also hard for me where to show this picture. I think it would be better to show them outside somewhere, like to show it on I don't know, not the marketplace, but outside somewhere where people can see it. It's not work for a gallery, because without the stories, it's pictures. It's not pictures that you would hang on your wall at home. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's something like art documentary. I don't know.
Well, it's a wonderful project because I think it really speaks to what it poses the question of what is a portrait supposed to do. And I think that in this case, when you look at those pictures, unlike a lot of other portrait work, you get to hear a little bit of what the story is, and that results in a relationship with the sitter and the viewer that normally doesn't exist, because usually you can sort of impose what you think about the person or what you think about the person just by looking at the photograph. And then here you're forced to deal with this person as a personality, especially a refugee, which is awash with all these sort of stereotypes. And it really, twists it on its ear, this whole concept of who you think someone is in a photograph.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I like about the project is no matter how you see the whole refugee thing, if you're for it, if you're against them, you look at the photo and you think, what would I take? And so it makes you think. It makes you think about what is really important. If I have to leave everything behind, what would it be? And I think that's what I like about the project. Like, there are so many great projects out there, so many great images, but after 2 seconds I forgot them. I didn't. Nice picture, awesome portrait, but doesn't get doesn't make anything with me. And in this thing, like no matter how you think about this whole refugee thing, you think about yourself a little bit more for just one moment, and maybe next day you still think, okay, I don't care about refugees, but yet you have to do something like you're actually thinking about the work. It makes you think, most probably. Like in the first now 1.5 years, like where no one wanted to publish it, like I thought, okay, that's really sad. Like no one really cares about it, and even like Swiss people, like this is happening in Switzerland now. Those are Swiss refugees from here. Like no one really, not even like the media, who's very, very like pro-refugees, they didn't want to show it. And it wasn't sad for me as a photographer to like, yeah, I don't get any recognition for it, but it was sad for me for the subjects, because I felt like, yeah, they think like no one cares about us, no one cares about my story, and so that's the best thing in this whole, when it went viral, like to see like, yeah, there are some people out there who like it and who think that's good, or make them think. Or I got lots of emails and Facebook messages from people who said, yeah, I'm like, my parents are also refugees. We came, like, if you ever come to Miami, you have to do a project. Like there is this Pedro Pan like movement from where they, I don't know where they fled from some Latin America. So you have to do like it woke up a lot of emotions with people, and that's great. That's what I love. The exposure is not so much the thing that's like what I was looking for, but I like where the project went, and I think it will help, like the whole exposure will help me continue with the project.
Well, my last question that I ask each guest is I ask them to recommend another photographer for our listeners to discover and explore on their own, and it can be anyone, someone you've long admired or someone you've recently discovered. So who would that photographer be and why?
Like one photographer that I greatly admire is Marco Grob. I think you know him. Like he's in New York now. He's one of the big guys doing portraiture now in the States. He's from Switzerland too. He does really, really absolutely awesome work. And then there's this other guy. His name is Justin Lister. I think he's not very popular, but he's doing really, really great stuff. He's in the Facebook group where I am too. I never post anything there, but he from time to time posts stuff there, and he really does a great job. And yeah, those are the two guys right now that came to my mind.
Well, thank you so much, Gabriel. It was really a pleasure to sit down and speak with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.
Thanks to Gabriel Hill for taking the time to appear on The Candid Frame. Find out more about Gabriel and his work by visiting his website at thegabrielhill.com. Remember that you continue to play a big role in introducing others to the work that we do here at The Candid Frame. Take the time today to write a review in the iTunes store. Thanks to Yuri Razin from France for their 5-star review. You can also support the show by making a regular monthly contribution through Patreon. You can contribute amounts of $2, $5, $10 or more, or anything in between on a monthly basis, and help make a big difference to the work that we're doing here at TCF. Visit patreon.com/The Candid Frame, or you'll find a link in the show notes and on the Candid Frame website. To access our complete archive of interviews, download the free Candid Frame app, available for Apple iOS, Android, and Windows. Links for each can be found in the show notes and the website at thecandidframe.com. The Candid Frame's audio engineer is Martin Taylor, who you can find at theothermartintaylor.com. Our senior producer is Cynthia Parker, and our music is from Kevin MacLeod, whose royalty-free music can be found at incompetech.com. And this is Ibadian X, and this is The Candid Frame.